In this section of training, we're going to explore speech production. We'll discuss articulation, provide an overview of different speech sounds and how they're formed, and share some mnemonic devices that will support retention of the different phoneme-grapheme correspondences. Many students enter school with correct production of speech sounds. While we may need to provide some cleaning up of L and R, or give reminders to clip the schwas, their pronunciation is accurate and automatic enough that basic decoding and encoding instruction is possible. Some students, however, will need direct instruction of speech sounds. This may be provided by the classroom teacher, or an evaluation team may determine that a speech-language pathologist is necessary. When modeling sounds for students, it may be helpful to sit side by side with the student, holding a mirror up, so that the two of you can compare your mouth formation. The first category of sounds that we'll go over are stops. Stops are sounds that are produced with quick puffs of air. If you think about the sounds p, t, k, those are sounds made with quick puffs of air that pass through the lips, teeth, or the back of your throat. The difficulty with stop sounds is that we often want to attach a schwa to the end. Instead of saying p, t, k, b, we want those sounds clipped, saying p, t, k, b. Think about those letters in the final position, as in the word tub. By saying the word tub and isolating the final sound, it's easier to isolate the sound and say b. In contrast to stops, fricatives are continuous sounds. They are sounds that are made by a slow and continuous airflow. The sounds for s and sh are sounds that can be made or stretched out until you run out of air. Knowing which sounds are continuous will come in handy if you're trying to support a student with blending issues. We'll address that more specifically when we discuss the stages of blending in our Blending Drill Basic video. Nasal sounds are also continuous. The difference is that in nasals, the airflow comes out of the nose rather than through the mouth. The nasal sounds include m, n, ng. Hold your nose and try making these sounds. What do you hear? That's right, nothing. The next category of speech sounds, affricates, can be challenging to produce. Affricates are created with two different methods. The sounds begin as stops, those quick puffs of air, and then shift into fricatives, those continuous airflow sounds. The difficulty with producing these sounds is that ability to manipulate and know when to stop and slow down our airflow. Liquid sounds are kind of messy and seem to float in the mouth, influencing the vowels that come before them, hence the name liquid. A liquid sound is produced when your airflow passes around the tongue in an unobstructed way. Generally, your lips and your teeth are apart, and your tongue is touching the roof of your mouth. These sounds are incredibly difficult to produce in isolation. It is nearly impossible to say these sounds without a schwa. We encourage adding the schwa after the L or R sound and keeping it as clipped as possible rather than adding the schwa in front of the sound. The letter L would be pronounced as L, clipping that schwa as much as possible instead of ul. The same with the letter R, saying r, clipping it as much as possible and avoid saying Remember, is actually the sound produced by the patterns ER, IR, and UR. Much like a liquid, a glide is the sound that is produced with an unobstructed airflow. When these sounds are produced, the tongue does not come in contact with the mouth. It requires a lot of tongue control, which is a difficult thing for many young students to manage. When saying the sounds y and w, you'll feel that your tongue is almost pulled back and needs to be held out of the way to be able to produce those sounds. Again, many students either have tongues that are fairly large for their mouth or don't have that muscle control in their tongue yet, so they will have a very difficult time producing these sounds. This chart was developed by Louisa Moats as part of the Letters program. Just a short advertisement, Letters is offered as an online course through Voyager Sopris Learning. It is an excellent program and highly recommended if you want to further your learning. Back to our content. This chart can be helpful in understanding why students make some common decoding and spelling errors. The top row shows where the consonants are placed in the mouth and what the mouth is doing. How are the lips, teeth, and tongue working? The first column classifies them by how they are spoken, the categories of speech sounds we've just discussed. The cells within this table identify consonants that are different only by whether or not they are voiced. These voiced and unvoiced pairs are often difficult for students to distinguish. They feel the same in the mouth except for the voicing. Voiced phonemes are made with the vocal cords turned on. Unvoiced phonemes have the vocal cords turned off. Hold your hands over your ears. Say the sound for the letter P 3 times. P, p, p. Now say the sound for the letter B 3 times. B, b, b. Which one is louder? B, the voiced phoneme. Another way to distinguish these sounds, place one hand gently on your Adam's apple. Place your other hand in front of your mouth and say the sound for the letter P. P, p, p. Now say the sound for the letter B. B, b, b. In saying P, you felt more air on your hand in front of your mouth. This is the unvoiced sound. Sounds that are produced more in the back of your throat using your vocal cords, like the B, are considered voiced. You'll feel the vibration in your throat. Sounds for the letters P and B are very easily confused by students, both in reading and spelling. It's difficult to tell these sounds apart when they're made almost the exact same way. The only difference is a subtle one, which is voiced and unvoiced. This is also true of other consonants sharing the same cell. Ever wonder why students confused CH and J or F and V? On the screen is a similar chart to the one just discussed, only now we have the Spanish consonants. It can be helpful to compare the English consonant chart to the Spanish consonant chart. Some consonant sounds don't occur in Spanish that occur in English. These sounds can be more difficult for our native Spanish speakers. These students may benefit from phonemic awareness instruction on those sounds specifically. It may also be important to note that letters represent different sounds in different languages. When you compare the two charts, you'll find a handful of letters that fall in different positions on the sound chart. That is an indication to you that that letter is produced differently in the student's native language. Also produced by Louisa Moats is the English vowel chart. Looking in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the sound for the long E. E. As you work down the chart, the sounds that are close to each other on the chart are made similarly. If you were to produce the vowel sounds in order while watching your mouth in a mirror, you will see that your mouth only subtly changes from one vowel sound to the next. The Spanish vowel phoneme chart is especially helpful when working with students who are native Spanish speakers. One of the things you'll notice on this chart is all the shaded cells. Vowel patterns that are shaded are patterns that do not exist in Spanish but do exist in English. Being aware supports the instructor in knowing where to expect student struggles and therefore prepare for more direct and explicit instruction and practice. As we've already discussed, English is a complex language. We have letters or graphemes that produce multiple sounds or phonemes. On the chart here, you'll see a mnemonic device to support in remembering and retrieving all of the sounds made by the different letters in our alphabet system. On the far left side of this chart, you'll see a letter or letters, the grapheme. In the middle column, you have the sounds these letters make, the phoneme. On the far right, you'll see words, keywords, or mnemonics intended to help you remember all of the possible sounds. If we jump down to the letter C, we know that in English, the letter C can produce two sounds, k or s. Going to the far right, we have the words cat and city. Those also happen to be the keywords for C. It gets a little bit more complex if you jump down to suffix ed. Suffix ed makes three sounds, id, d, t. We planted, watered, and picked the flowers. Planted gives us the id sound. Watered gives us the dis sound. and picked gives us the t sound. So again, just a tool that may help you both in your instruction of students and as a participant in training to remember the possible sounds for each of the graphemes that we'll be working through. On this screen is a chart of words, keywords, or mnemonics to support retrieval of all the possible spellings or graphemes for different sounds or phonemes. The phoneme, or the sound, is on the left side. The grapheme, or the letters that are used to spell that sound, are in the middle column. And then on the far right are the words to help our memory for these spelling patterns. Let's look at F, or the sound F. The sound F can be spelled F, FF, PH, or GH. The slash mark between FF and PH indicates commonality. The spellings before the slash mark are common. The spellings after the slash mark are less common. The mnemonic to help us remember all 4 spelling choices for the sound F would be face, off, photo, laugh. That one isn't necessarily in a sentence structure. It's the keywords, but there are some that are a little bit easier to remember. If we look about 2/3 of the way down, we see the spelling choices for the sound A. The mnemonics for these spellings are vacation came on a rainy day and 8 reindeer did obey. Understanding the complexity of the English speech system and our awareness of all of the different phoneme-grapheme correspondences in English supports our ability to instruct students. When you feel that your skill set is not supportive enough for meeting the needs of your students, your speech-language pathologist will be a really good resource for you. That concludes this section of training.